So, what do you do when you're going through a patch where it just feels like, you've got too many symptoms that you don't know what to do, right? You don't know if you should go out and you should try to exercise. You don't know if you should expose yourself to doing things like work, socializing, all these kinds of things, right? I get those questions sometimes from people. So what do I do when I'm in this situation? So in these periods, the first step is surrender, right? And the reason I say this is because when you really find yourself in this situation where it feels like whatever you do, you can't put a step forward, right? It just feels like every door is closed, you're overwhelmed, your nervous system is dysregulated, then surrender to your experience as it is. That's step one. You can call this acceptance as well. But the key with surrender is it's not an technique, right? It's the end of technique. It's the technique that you use when you have no technique left, when you have you've reached your end of your limits. That's the only way you learn surrender, right? Anybody that talks about surrender, you realize it from being in these spaces. That's how I know what surrender is, because I was surrendered by my experience. The ego is shown how to surrender because it isn't given another door, right? So I get questions about, like, is what you're talking about somatic experiencing? Is it this technique? Is it that technique? Is it meditation? Is it this? Sure, I understand where those questions are coming from and they're valid. But, what you can use these techniques. But the simplest technique is total allowance, total surrender, total being with what's here. Let it overtake you. Let it overwhelm you, right? Really surrender to it. Okay, so that's step one. That's how you do it. Accept your situation as it is, and you will learn deep acceptance, right? It's powerful. You will see that you can handle what you thought you couldn't handle. Life will push you, right? Then step two is once you've worked with this a little bit, expose yourself to things that you want to do or that life is bringing towards you, right? This is a theme that I'm continually reminded of. Like, resistance patterns will continue to come up in different areas of your life, and it's a clearing out. It's just things coming to the surface to be released from the system. It doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be doing that thing, right? So, for example, with me, I've been through phases after kind of the whole healing journey where I've been really busy at the gym, working, and then I got a bit sick, like maybe from a virus itself. So I started to take it a little bit slower. I started to take it a little bit easier. Then I started to go out again, and I'm still feeling like this energetic drain, this overwhelm. So that's one thing that can start to happen, right? But then the fear can become an addiction, right? The resistance can become an addiction, right? So then I can start closing off doors again. Okay, maybe I should cut back on the kite surfing work. Maybe I should cut back on going to the gym. And that's okay. Like, you can do that for a while. But for me, full on surrender to the flow of life, that just brings things back into flow from my experience. So start where you're at, right? That's kind of my example, having kind of been through the whole healing journey and then working through what still comes up on the other side. And things will still come up. So also, don't feel bad if you're semi-healed or you're healed and then you have setbacks or you have flare-ups. It's not setbacks, it's not flare-ups, it's clearing out, it's releasing, it's nervous system upgrades, I like to say, right? You have to hold the space by allowing, right? By being with it, by digging in. What is here? What don't I want to feel? I'm starting to sweat in my car. It's fucking hot. It's like a sauna. And surrender to it, right? Let it show you what needs to be released. The sensation is linked to something that's been repressed. I see this when I'm working with somebody one-on-one, right? They'll say, okay, look, I've got these sensations here, I've got this here. So then we hold the space together. I'm like, let's open up, let's feel, let's sit, let's open this up. And what needs to be heard? What needs to come out? What is this experience, right? What is it? What is it saying? Is it saying, fuck this, I hate this, I'm frustrated? Cool, don't make an identity out of frustration, though. Let it be felt, let it be expressed, and then let it go, and then open yourself up to what is presenting in your life, right? Life will throw the little tidbits to you. I've seen this in my own life, right? Where I'm like, I need to be doing something more, and then life's like, here's the option, and then the mind, I've spoken about this in my recent videos quite a bit, the mind's like, no, I don't want to do that. But step beyond the fears and be willing to feel what it brings up, right? So what could that be for you? That could be, I explored it with somebody in a one-on-one session as well. She was like, I don't know what's next, what to do next. She's getting better at the allowing, she's getting better at the healing. So what do you want to do, right? What would you do if there wasn't a fear of what's going to be too much? Because you actually get energy from doing things that are aligned with living in excitement, living in maybe scary, like excitement and fear are interlinked experiences, right? And excitement can get labeled as anxiety when you're living through the lens of fear with everything, right? This is a big deal as well. Like when you've been in this chronic illness world, the mind is so hypervigilant to symptoms that you can be feeling this like anxiety and it's excitement, right? It's like, whoa, this is stimulating. This is something new. This is, wow, that's good. Don't run from that. So again, it's releasing the labeling that the mind is saying that this is what this is. So people run from that excitement, but because it's too much control, it's a fear of the physical experience, right? So to go back to what I was saying, like working with this person one-on-one, what do you want to do that you're not allowing yourself to do out of fear or out of safety? You have to show your nervous system that you actually trust it by putting yourself in environments where you want to do something, but you don't know how it's going to play out. That's what this one step in the unknown is about. And then if things come up, then you work through it with allowing, I've got videos on this. I've got guided meditations. I'm doing a group work where we're going to dig into this, which I'm super excited about. That's going to be so fun. But yeah, this is the gist of it, right? It's these two aspects. One is you learn the healing through feeling, total allowing, but it's so simple, right? Other people talk about releases and this and that, and sure, they're probably right, but nice jump. But you're still going to get caught up in your mind. That's why I bring it down to get out of the head. It's not a mental technique. It's being with your experience and seeing what the mind is saying and not identifying with it. That's the key, right? So if any brain retraining techniques or this or that is too complicated, then just stop trying to heal. Stop trying to get anywhere. Stop, because you're trying to get away from something. That's what the mind does. It complicates everything to get away from the purity of your experience as it is. The real sense, like the work is here, and then the mind is just going to take you for a spin. That's saying, you don't know how to do it. You need a new technique. You need this. You need that. You're not getting it right. That's because it doesn't want to feel. So this is why I talk about awakening, because awakening is the end of total identification with the mind, right? You're going to keep getting pulled into the mind until you inquire enough into who am I that is not a thought. And you have to keep seeing where the mind is going to try and lead you astray, because it's going to do that. But you stop falling for the ego's tricks. I'm sweating. This is advice from the sauna. We don't really have saunas in Langebaan, so this is how I do it. But yeah, that's it. You stop believing the ego, and you realize that doubt is going to be there. But like, this is again the brain retraining. Like people that talk about brain retraining, I like to mix all the different approaches together to make the approach that isn't actually a single approach. It's just an intuitive response to what is here. But the brain retraining thing is, are you going to feel the doubt? Like, are you going to believe that doubt, cling onto it, and make that your worldview? Right? The doubt is going to be there. It's going to be like, you can't do this. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have the right technique. Because you have to cross that barrier of not knowing, right? I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do next. Nobody knows what to do next. But if you are willing to, right, to throw yourself into the unknown, to sit and feel when you don't know what technique you're using, when you don't know where you're going, right, just be here with what is, and direct your attention into the physical experience. Ask yourself, like, this is where questions are helpful. Ask yourself, what don't I want to feel? What is here that I'm not allowing? What am I trying to fix? What am I trying to get away from? What am I hoping is going to disappear? These are the questions that you can ask. And then at the same time, the other aspect is immerse yourself in life. Start where you're at, but this is important, right? I might suffocate in here. But this is important, is to immerse yourself in life as well. Go start to do things that feel good, and you need to control things less. Right? The mind needs to control experience because it's afraid of what is going to bring up. And there will be periods where your nervous system is kind of overstimulated and you just need to take a few days off. That's fine as well. There's nothing wrong with rest. It's, again, there's no addiction to an identity of I'm the one that never rests, or I'm the one that has to rest 24/7 because my symptoms overwhelm me. You're going to go through these fluctuating periods. But when you start to do things that actually align with what you want to do, and you might not know what that is, but just follow your intuition, because the answers are there. I just can't suck it out and tell you what that is. But for me, it was like starting to go on walks, starting to expose myself, starting to talk on YouTube, eventually this, that, right? All these things, just trusting the flow, trusting what is appearing, right? You're going to go and you're going to bump into someone and they're going to say, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And maybe sometimes you don't want to, and maybe sometimes you do. But just play the game. Sorry, someone almost reversed into me. Play the game. Trust that you're not in control of this game in the same way that you think, but you have choice, right? You don't have control, but you have choice. This is key. There's like non-dual traps that people fall into, and I fall into it myself as well, where you're like, I have no control. Surrender, right? All this talk can be co-opted by the mind, where you're just like, so I must just do nothing, be no one, and you have no passion to do anything. And that can be a phase that you have to work through. I worked through that. I definitely worked through that. It was a big trap for me. But you have choice. Down while I was recording because it overheated and it said you can't use the camera app anymore. So I'll take it as a sign that it's time for me to get out of the car, and I'm probably going to go kite surf myself today. I had a lesson and then it was cancelled because my student's kite wasn't working. But anyways, that's beside the point. I wanted to finish off what I was saying, and that was that you don't have control, but you have choice, right? And this sounds paradoxical to the mind, because paradox needs to be embraced, because things are not black and white in the mind. The mind wants black. The mind can only see through black and white. But when you realize that you don't have to live only in the mind, right? You can trust and flow with life, and the mind is an employee of reality. Right? It's like okay, cool, like I can manage and plan and organize these groups because of the mind, but when things don't go according to the mind, then that has to be embraced as well. So that's the key. So you can still make choices. In fact, leveraging the power of choice is essential in your healing journey. That I have the choice that I can just sit and wallow on my phone, or I can take actionable steps that I know are going to make me heal. Right? So this is the more fiery masculine message. I'm generally giving people the, hey, it's okay, trust, surrender, allow, because you need that when you're really stuck. But the more fiery side of it is, and this is the dance of masculine and feminine energies. Feminine is surrender, allow, total trust, right? And that's a big deal. I usually come more from that side, but the other side is important, right? It's the other side of reality, is the fiery energy, which is like, and you have choice, right? You have the ability to, you don't have control. You can't control the environment, right? The environment is bringing you what you need to work with, and you need to surrender to that. But you also have the choice of how you're going to respond. You have the choice of, am I going to fight this? Am I going to actively avoid? Am I going to step back and hide and live in these resistant worlds, or am I going to surrender and open up and expose myself to spaces where I know I can heal, right? That's what I'm doing here with this group thing, and the response has been amazing. I'm so excited how many people are. I'm still letting a few people in if you want to join. We're starting on Monday. But you making the decision that I want to expose myself to this group, that's your choice, right? That's good. You're making a choice. Or you watching these videos and then actually going and doing the practices. That's the choice. That's where will steps into the picture. The ego will dissolves during this process, but it's more like the deeper will, the universal will, the higher self will. Different ways to talk about it, right? You could talk about it in a more scientific ways, like, okay, you shift from the limbic system to the prefrontal cortex. It's all the same thing, right? When someone's talking about, oh, this is like your resistant self and your wise self, and then the neuroscientist is like, no, what the fuck? That's so spiritual. It's your limbic system and your thing. It's the same thing. It's just different words for explaining the process. So don't get put off by stupid shit like labels. But that's the point, right? I'm going to go soon before I fry myself and my cell phone again. But you have a choice in every moment, and if it feels like you don't, to circle back to where I started this video about surrender, then you let the universe surrender you. You let the ego be dissolved. You let the separate resistant self that's keeping you stuck, the mind, your resistance patterns, your chronic illness, right? It's all the same thing, whether it's awakening or chronic illness, it's the same thing. You let that be surrendered by the universe, then you come into total allowance, total acceptance. And then the other side is the masculine, that you have choice. So you have to flow with experience, right? That's why there's no black and white. That's why I do these group sessions as well, where I'm going to meet what's arising. I'm not coming, hey, look, here's the textbook of healing. No, what's coming up? Let's meet it. There's no specific framework. All right, that's that. Good luck. If you want to join the groups, there's still a few slots that I'm letting people in. Yeah, and I'm so excited, and people are excited, and it's exactly what I was hoping for, but better. Cheers.